And I'll tell you also that the walls of the room and the floors of the rooms are all emanating light as well, illuminating you, just as the light of you is illuminating them. It's a relationship of light. The great light always surrounds you and shines out from you. How can you see the dark companions in a light such as this? If you see them, it is only because you are denying the light. It only means that you've turned your back from what is actually true in order to give preference to definitions you've made up, because the making up of definitions and the securing of them is the way you think you're going to achieve autonomous reality. If you see them, the dark companions, it is only because you are denying the light. But deny them instead. Cancel their appointments. Deny them instead, for the light is here and the way is clear, meaning unobstructed. What's being described here is the reality that you are in at this very moment. And it's the experience to be curious to have. And it's an experience to be curious to have ongoingly. You must practice ongoing curiosity. You must be willing not to lapse from being curious. Oh, well, that sounds like a lot of work. Well, it might. And it might take some conscientious effort on your part. But if it's the means of undoing illusion, it's worth doing. You must do it more persistently because your habit of relying upon your definitions and the meanings you're giving everything, and then ruminating over the way things aren't working out and exactly why they're not working out, instead of doing that, you need to conscientiously do something else, the opposite of it. You must break the habit by actually, conscientiously doing something else. So no matter what you're confronted with tomorrow, this evening, let there be an ever-present curiosity to see God there, to see the more of what God is being, instead of relying upon your best definitions and judgments and mulling them over and over and over and over in your mind, preoccupying yourself by your devotion to them from having the slightest chance of an aha occurring. God hides nothing from His Son, even though His Son would hide Himself. In other words, hide who He really is, in favor of being the orphan who successfully proves that one doesn't have to have a father or a mother in order to exist and be real. Yet, the Son of God, you, cannot hide His glory, cannot hide your glory. For God wills Him, you, to be glorious, and gave Him, you, the light that shines in Him, in you. You see, you're neither behind the point of perfection nor advancing toward it. You are at that point and must understand yourself therefrom. And you will not understand yourself therefrom. You will not understand yourself therefrom if you don't persist in letting your ultimacy be your vantage point in the present. You will never escape your current habit of seeing less there where you are than is there. You will never lose your way, for God leads you. When you wander, you but undertake a journey which is not real. The dark companions, the dark way, are all illusions. Turn toward the light. For the little spark in you is part of a capital L light so great that it can sweep you out of all darkness forever. And as I said in the beginning, its intent is to sweep you out of darkness. It is constantly nudging you. It is constantly pressuring you, causing you not to be totally at peace in your commitment to your definitions that aren't real, so that you might be reminded, we might say unconsciously, that there is another way to look at things, so that you might employ enough curiosity to abandon your bondage. Turn toward the light, for the little spark in you is part of a light, part of a love, so great that it can sweep you out of all darkness forever. For your Father is your Creator, and you are like Him. You see? There we brought everything back to the truth. You have a Father, and you are a Son. And your healing, your awakening, depends upon your willingness to embrace that fact and let yourself be a son who is the son because you are acknowledging your Father and not claiming orphanhood and not claiming a right to see things a little bit differently from God. The children of light cannot abide in darkness, for darkness is not in them. Well, you know what that means? It means you aren't abiding in darkness. You aren't abiding in, quote, the human condition, unquote. You are right now abiding in light. But you're imagining otherwise. And you're believing your imagination. You're abiding in your imagination. And you're constantly trying to confirm that your imagination is true. The children of light, you cannot abide in darkness, for darkness is not in them. Do not be deceived by the dark comforters. You know, the call for justice and self-righteousness. Do not be deceived by the dark comforters, and never let them enter the mind of God's Son. Cancel their appointments, for they have no place in His temple. They have no place in your right mind. When you are tempted to deny Him, God, remember that there are no other gods that you can place before Him. Like I've said before, there simply aren't any black market gods you can go out and get and put before God. When you are tempted to deny Him, remember that there are no other gods that you can place before Him, and accept His will for you in peace. Give up the struggle to do something impossible. In other words, to try to attempt to find peace when you're denying your very own birthright, when you're denying what you are. It is impossible to find or secure peace in that conscious intent. When you are tempted to deny Him, remember that there are no other gods that you can place before Him, and accept His will for you in peace without any further struggle. For you cannot accept it otherwise. Only God's Comforter can comfort you. In the quiet of His temple, He waits to give you the peace that is yours. This Comforter, as it says in the Bible, is the Holy Spirit. And what is the Holy Spirit? Nothing more than your right mind. Only God's Comforter, your right mind, can comfort you in the quiet of His temple, the Comforter's temple, the place of excellence in you where the altar in you is. He waits. Your self waits to give you the peace that is yours. It is yours, but you have to come to a point where you're willing to abandon the addiction to conflict and the overcoming of it. Give His peace that you may enter the temple and find it waiting for you. Well, the best way you can give His peace, the Comforter's peace, is to stop thinking. And one of the best means of abandoning thinking is a practice of meditation. He waits to give you the peace that is yours. Give His peace, that you may enter the temple and find it waiting for you. But be holy in the presence of God. In other words, shut up and be still. And stop being in charge. Stop asserting yourself. Stop being an assertive presence that gains a sense of itself out of the loudness of its assertions. Be holy in the presence of God, your right mind, or you will not know that you are there. For what is unlike God cannot enter His mind, because it was not His thought, and therefore does not belong to Him. And your minds must be as pure as His, if you would know what belongs to you. Oh, that might sound like too big a challenge. How can your mind be as pure as His? Well, the moment there is silence in your mind is perfectly pure. The only impurities present in your mind are your own made-up ideas, your own self-created thoughts, and the thinking you engage in about them. So you don't have to purify your thoughts so that you're having pure thoughts all the time. The moment there is silence in your mind is pure. This is important. Guard carefully his temple, for he himself dwells there and abides in peace. Where is this temple? Well, it's where the altar is, isn't it? Where is the altar? In you. What is the altar? The place where the voice for truth awaits you, the Holy Spirit, which is nothing more than your right mind. Go into that place where what you divinely are awaits you, and go to it without carrying with you the baggage and garbage of all your attempts to be something of yourself. Go there in silence, just simple silence, coupled with attentiveness, which is another word for curiosity. You cannot enter God's presence with the dark companions beside you, but you also cannot enter alone. All your brothers must enter with you, for until you have accepted them, you cannot enter. Well, here's a simple way to make sense out of this. As with Paul, go into the altar for some reason outside yourself. Go in on your brother's behalf. Go in because your brothers have questions. Go in because your brothers have needs. Go in because your brothers seem to be suffering and you don't want them to suffer. Go in because you want to know what the truth is so that you will stop joining with your brothers in confirming their dilemmas. Care enough about your brothers that you take them with you into the presence of the altar, so that you take them with you into the presence of what is nothing more than your right mind. Let your reason for going there not be self-seeking. All your brothers must enter with you, for until you have accepted them, you cannot enter. In other words, you cannot approach your right mind. For selfish reasons, for private reasons. Until you have accepted them, you cannot enter. For you cannot understand wholeness unless you are whole. And no part of the Son can be excluded if he would know the wholeness of his Father. You see, your reason for wanting to know the truth is so that all of creation can be embraced in your illuminated vision. So that you might have the opportunity to bless everything with your willingness to acknowledge God there. You can't do it to find the capacity to acknowledge God in you and you alone, so that you might be able to know the winning lottery numbers and get the house of your dreams and not be dependent on anybody else and not be a burden on society and all of the good reasons you can think of for being independently successful. In your mind, you can accept the whole sonship and bless it with the light your Father gave it. Then you will be worthy to dwell in the temple. To not just go there, but to stay there with Him. Because what? It is your will not to be alone. That is the crux of your whole dilemma. And waking up is the abandonment of the devotion to being alone, to be privately successful, to be privately on your own, real. That is your devotion. God blessed His Son forever. Because God is a singularity, and there is nothing unlike God in a singularity, because the omnipresence of God is pure, whatever God is forever. Because there's nothing to interrupt it. It is eternal and infinite simultaneously. If you will bless Him in time, you will be in eternity. You see? I keep saying, the only thing confronting you is the kingdom of heaven. And therefore, rather than waiting until after you die, or after you have perfected your soul to look for the experience of reality, you need to do it right here, right now. Because right here and right now is where you are experiencing the kingdom of heaven through a glass darkly. It says here, if you will bless Him in time, you will be in eternity. If you will look for God in the world, you will be in the kingdom of heaven. Your vision will be transformed so that the kingdom of heaven, that is the only thing in your face, might suddenly be seen right where your limited and unreal definitions have stood in the way of your direct perception, your direct experience of reality, the kingdom of heaven. If you will bless Him, God's Son, in time, in other words, right here, right now, with whatever definitions your brother is employing about himself, you will be in eternity. A shift will occur right here, right now. Time cannot separate you from God if you use it on behalf of the eternal. You all use the world and its resources to gain position and money and security and authority and domination without any sense of what the world it really is. And that your real function relative to it is not the exploitation of it, but of using it as your opportunity to acknowledge God in every aspect of it and glorify God rather than using it to try to glorify yourself, which will always constitute depletion of you, the minimizing of you into a nothing, an orphan that can't actually accomplish anything at all. And the kingdom of heaven as the world and universe governed by material laws, developing according to physical just a moment. Physical laws of development. That arise out of fundamental conflict and engage laws such as the survival of the fittest, which is nothing more than competition. Time cannot separate you from God if you use it on behalf of the eternal. Use your mind on behalf of the eternal by being curious to see what's really going on, instead of using it for your own selfish purposes. Use your vision to find and acknowledge God, instead of using it as a means of determining whether you're safe, and if you aren't safe, to best determine what the best defense will be. Start using your eyes to find God. Start using your ears to hear the truth, so that you might express and embody truth instead of all of your predetermined, pre-recorded habits that keep you from being truly conscious of what is going on as you employ them for self-defense instead of making the gift and extending the light, the love with a capital L that you are. From darkness to light is what we're talking about. From selfishness to embrace is what we're talking about. From privacy to inclusion is what we're talking about. I hope that your week is full of out-of-the-box experiences that you didn't plan, but you gave permission to happen. And again, I will tell you, I love you all. And I look forward to being with you next week.